IPMNation.com.
Good evening, and welcome to All Natural Being here on IPMNation.com/ANB. Now we're getting ready to hop over on Facebook, but I wanted to thank you for joining us for the 261st episode of the Gong Heard Round the World. Here we go. Thank you so very much for making us a part of your evening.
Live from the Outpost Studios in Columbus, Ohio, you're listening to All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy. Brought to you by IPMNation.com. Get ready for the Gong Heard Round the World.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Warning, All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy is designed to shake your sense of self to the core.
It's full contact psychology with an empowering twist, a philosophical loofah for your soul.
For those of you not ready or comfortable releasing your inner superhuman, listener discretion is advised.
Here's your host,
Brian Brawdy.
It just never fails. It never fails. But having said that, welcome and thank you for stopping by the #1 rated show here on IPMNation.com, episode 261 of the Gong Heard Round the World. You're in to All Natural Being, broadcast as it happens here on IPMNation.com and Facebook for Fly on the Wall video, if that's how you're getting us. But either way, we're live from the Outpost Studios in Columbus, Ohio, with rebroadcast, as you know by now, on iTunes and iHeartRadio. Greetings wherever you are, here in the Garden of the Mortals. Top of the day from the truest parts of your mind. Life, it's your labyrinth, your shot at running the table. That's why we're always putting your heart's highest priority top of your list. Hands down, placing your primal scream front and center in your life, where I think it belongs. We're reinstalling and reinstating the true wit and wisdom of your inner whisper, because it's time to reboot your robust, to find your ferocious, to outbrutal the brutal that is the cut and shuffle that fate deals you on a daily basis, and to bring your own bold once and for all. But before we hit it tonight, hello to my friends here in the United States and Canada, Mexico, the UK, my good friends in Ecuador, China, the Philippines, Brazil, India, Australia, Germany, Italy, France, Turkey, Japan, Sweden, Singapore, Israel, South Africa, Puerto Rico, Kenya, the Netherlands. To those joining us from all over the globe, it's great to have you with us. And I truly am fired up this evening to be driving your bandwagon, to be your biggest fan, to be avidly you. It's time to mortal up. So what do you say? Let's go kick in some doors. And I was laughing as we got ready to start this. It's because, as you know, we do the radio show here on IPM Nation, and then we set out to also be able to broadcast it over on Facebook so you can get the video and people can comment here in the thread, that kind of thing, right? So I'm just getting ready to hit it and make a go, and then I get this little warning from Facebook going, hey, you have to authenticate. You have to authenticate your feed. I'm thinking, well, we've only done it like a handful of times, but sure, if you want me to authenticate it, we'll go right ahead. We don't mind. We'll do that. And I'm like, really? After all this time, you don't know it's me. And apparently they don't. So in any event, thank you for putting up with that glitch once again. It's fascinating to me, really. And I was saying to my friend Henry earlier today about just the learning curve, all the different things. You know, when I came up with this idea of doing all natural being, it was prior to being diagnosed with a brain tumor, prior to all that craziness, right? So I thought, oh, let's go ahead and do this. And then you get into, you get into some of the, let me put it this way. You get into some of those areas where you realize you're just not all that bright. Does that ever happen to you? Where you go, oh, you come up with a great idea, but you think, oh, I'll just do it. And then you get ready to do it, and none of it just falls together the way you think. Well, that's what it's been like over the last couple of weeks. Hello. Yeah, no, sorry. Can't do it now, but thank you very much for that. So, right, you'll be able to do all these things and say, oh, I don't know if I'll ever get on top of the learning curve. So, but I have so many people to thank, and most certainly the good folks at Sweetwater for all the audio type things that I've had to study and think about. The good folks at Sweetwater, and then most certainly the folks at Wirecast, also Matt and Jenny at IPMNation.com. Thank you very much for all of that. So let me say this. And then we'll turn down the volume. John, nice to see you as well. Marcellus, hello to you, brother. Henry, good evening. Dallas, hello as well. Thank you so very much for joining us. Thank you so very much. John, I appreciate that very much. Oh, and also, someone asked me the other day, how about the prayer bowls? And I was right. So I won't gong 11 times this evening, but as promised, we'll go ahead and hit the prayer bowl. Every time that there's a share, right? We're pandering for shares. Janile, thank you very much for joining us. It's nice to see your icon pop up, as always. Hello, John. Yes, it has been a long time. Candace, nice to see you as well. It has been, and we've just been learning, right? And right when I think I've got it, then I don't have it, right? So right when I think that, oh, yeah, this is great. Now we can do this and we can do that. Good evening to you too, Janelle. You get ready to do all this, and then you go, yeah, I wasn't all that smart. I couldn't figure this out, right? So then we got it all together, and last night I think the audio went well, at least from what we're able to tell. And then we couldn't get the video capture cards to go, so then spent a little bit of time today on the video capture cards. So I think we're finally getting to the point. And I should thank all the members, the early launch team listeners. Thank them so much for their patience. The early morning meme and the good night soundbite, we had to take a little break from them just to learn the audio and how to incorporate everything. So thank you so very much for the latitude to be able to get it ramped up and worked up the way we want it. And I'm very excited tonight. Middlebrot. I hope I'm pronouncing that well. Hello to you as well. Thank you for joining us here on All Natural Being. Tonight, we're going to have a couple different callers that I'm very excited about. We'll get to that before too long. But what I wanted to focus on was this concept that came up in a discussion we were having today. And the thought that instantly jumped to my mind, and it was with the good folks over at tryh2.com, we were having this discussion on Gordon, with Stephen and I, and we talked about what made you mends you, right? Like what it is that you're built by is what can bring you back to a sense of equilibrium and homeostasis in your life. And not just in terms of your immune systems, but your philosophical immune system as well, where you have the ability to go, yeah, I was pretty good when I was born. The ego may have had a shelf life, may have stayed a little longer than it needed to, but I'm absolutely capable of putting my heart's highest priority at the top of the list. I'm absolutely capable of running the table that is life, and I'm not going to let anyone stand in my way for achieving just that, for achieving my definition of what I want my life to breathe. I like breathe. B. Thank you, John, very much. The new desk additions. Yeah, I think I kind of cleaned it out a little bit. The hourglass. Dana, John, was, and I wanted to show this to everyone. Let me do it this way. Dana was very nice, and for my birthday sent me a little pyramid, and this pyramid helps to block, she made it for me, this pyramid helps to block EMF. So that's an addition, and I'm very proud to have that front and center. And then as Jenny said to me last evening, don't forget, right here we have the crystal ball, which Jenny was very instrumental in helping me pick out. Dana, nice to see you. I was just showing off your pyramid. But I never pick up the crystal ball because I'm always afraid I'm going to drop it, right? So it'd be my luck. I'd reach around and knock something off. But yeah, John, we tried to pare it out a little bit, tried to change some of the things, and also in a way to incorporate all the, the technology and the different things that we had to bring on board. You would not believe what it takes to be able to, both on the radio side and on Facebook side, to get a caller in, to get a human being's voice to go both ways down two different computers. You wouldn't believe it. You thought I would want to put a Skylab, this put a space shuttle up in the air. You'd be surprised, but that's what we've been learning. So again, I wanted to thank my early launch team listeners and the folks, our All Natural Being private members, for all the latitude and really just wanting to get it. Oh, I love it, Dana. Thank you very much. I just wanted to get it to the point where it was something that we could all use and benefit from. So thank you very much for the latitude. Good evening to Jennifer as well. Thank you so very much. Thank you. Nice little wave. Thank you very much for joining us here at All Natural Being. And this evening, we're talking about what it takes in order to put your heart's highest priority top of your list. All right, let's take a quick call. Good evening. Welcome to All Natural Being. Hello. Well, I think I had somebody there. Okay, maybe not. All right. There's the first, right? 261st episode. Taking a call and having it, somebody butt dialed us, apparently. So thank you very much, whoever that was. Unleash your inner heart. I agree with you, Jennifer. Absolutely. Right? What's it going to take to put your heart's highest priority top of your list? People say, oh, I've got my critics. I'm worried I won't get enough upvotes, or I'll get some thumbs down, or I'll have all these different things that will help, to pretty much chop block. And I saw Marcellus was on earlier. I know he loves that term when we talk about chop blocking your heart. But what's it going to take to be able to go, no, I'm going to stand up for myself. I'm going to stand up for exactly what it takes to make my heart's highest priority top of my list. All right, let's go ahead and take another call. Good evening. Welcome to All Natural Being. Who's this?
Hello, Brian.
Matt, how are you, sir?
Good. How are you?
Well, good. I just wanted to let everybody know I would really love to pick up this instant messenger chat, but I just can't. So sorry about that. Matt, thank you so very much for joining us. Everyone, this is Matt Connerton. He is the creator, the CEO, the bigwig, the man about town at IPM Nation. And the reason that I'm able to do this the way I want each and every evening for 261 episodes now, Matt. Matt is the bigwig at IPMNation.com. So thank you so very much. Not just, Matt, for coming on tonight and saying hello, but could you just give everyone an idea of how long or what it's taken for you to train me? Like, I think the first time you and I spoke, I didn't even know what gain was.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's been a long road, but I mean, honestly, though, a lot of it you've taught yourself. I mean, I've helped, but I think you should give yourself more credit, Brian. I really do.
Well, I'll tell you, and let me just go ahead, Matt. I thank you for that very much. Let me go ahead and add a call because I think I got someone that wants to say hello to you. Good evening. Welcome
Great.
to All Natural Being.
Hey, Brian.
Henry, how are you, sir?
I'm doing fine.
Well, believe it or not, Matt's on the call with us as well. And I was just thanking Matt for everything he's done, Henry, to kind of catch me up because Matt has his own radio show. In addition to running IPM Nation and everything it takes to go into that, he has his own broadcast radio show. So whenever I get in over my head, Matt's one of the guys that I call right away, Henry, as you know, to go, Matt, what is a bass trap anyways? Or how do I do this? Or how do I do that? So, Matt, you've been putting up with me for a couple of years now.
Well, the man's got like 8 arms, I swear.
Right.
I'm an octopus, yes. 8 arms to hold you.
There you go. Rita, good evening. Thank you for joining us. It's nice to see you. So, Matt, if you could, you just can't go on and on about everything I don't know. This would be a 3-hour show if you had to highlight all the ways that, I don't understand what's going on. But talk to us a little bit because now that Henry's on the line, I know he's come over to IPM Nation. He's at IPMNation.com/live4. How cool is it to have Henry on board?
Absolutely. Our family continues to grow, and it's really wonderful. Very exciting.
So, Henry, tell us a little bit about it. I know Matt knows, and you guys have been, talking back and forth, but give us a little idea about your show and what it's going to be about and really how it incorporates here with All Natural Being.
Well, your show is it has been a pioneer trailblazer over these quite a few months now. And, the information trying to get out there and getting people to understand how their ego controls them and how thick their heads are and how thin their skins are and the political correctness on how way out of whack it has gone. And I think it's just trying to get the message out there to the people to let them know that they have a way of gaining control of all of this. And it's really a lot of just self-reflection. It's looking in the mirror and trying to set up the direction that they really would like to go, how they'd like to see the world. I mean, this certainly isn't the way they got to like it, but that they do have control over themselves, but they have to let some things go. And I just want to set the stage and give the instruction and the learning that they need to accommodate that and to be successful with it.
And then, Matt, I'm thinking with having listened to your show all this time now and some of the other things, I think maybe some of your guests could absolutely use a few minutes with Henry. I mean, the last time I was on your show, I think we were both called every name in the book. And I'm not even sure how we did it. I just said hello, and then the guy went off on us. So I'm thinking maybe some of the listeners could benefit from some time with Henry.
I think so, too, and some of my guests certainly. Although I must say, Brian, when you came on my show that day and said hello, I mean, that was a slippery slope.
Right. Right. Now, in fairness, I said, look, I'm here to culturally appropriate absolutely every nationality on the planet, right? So please feel free to call in and send me all the nasty emails. So I did kind of ask for it. I was just surprised he took the bait as quickly as he did.
Yeah, he does that. We're talking, of course, about John Hopwood, who's one of my semi-regulars on Matt Connerton Unleashed. And you never know what you're going to get with John. What's funny is he was agreeing with you on most of what you were saying, but it's still that little bit where he disagrees that just sets him off. But it was exciting radio.
Well, I got to give you that. And, and it makes me think, Matt, and Henry as well, please respond, or anyone here in the thread, that you just look at, and maybe it's today in politics or global warming or the flat earth or any of the other things that you have to be so careful about now that all you have to do is say one little thing. And I commented last night, guys, on this. I was really glad to see Gold Bond, which would be cool if they were a sponsor. They're not. You'd think I would have figured that out. But look at this. It says penetrates 10 layers deep. So even Gold Bond knows that we should have a naturally thick skin. But you go out into the internet, you go out into the world, it doesn't take anything to outrage someone, to offend someone, to insult someone. And I'm thinking to myself as I look at that, how many layers do you have? How do you let someone's rhetoric penetrate a full 10 layers in your skin? I think of Robert De Niro the other night at the Tonys. I think of Kathy Lee? Kathy someone? All you do, these are allegedly comedians and actors, and they just go off at the drop of a hat. Yeah.
Well, a lot of it, too, is what Bill Maher, I think he was the one who coined the term years ago, mock outrage. A lot of it is people who, they know that, I think in many cases, that they're taking things out of context in order to react to them, just so they can have something to react to. You see that a lot with the social justice warriors online, the PC police. They look for things to, we've talked about specific examples. In fact, I think we did that day that you called into my show, Brian. They look for things to get upset about where they're not being intellectually honest. They know they're taking something out of context or twisting it, but they're doing it to give themselves perhaps a greater sense of power in the world or something, and the virtue signaling and all that goes on. But I think a lot of it's fake. They know it's fake, but they're looking for something to be relevant, something to again, you hear this term all the time now, virtue signaling. But it's not genuine. They're not really looking out for others. They're looking to benefit themselves and raise their own profiles, whether it be in the social media world or they're just looking for a little bit of mainstream fame or whatever it may be. Or maybe they have a movie coming out and they're looking for a little extra publicity if they happen to be a movie star. Whatever it is. A lot of it's fake.
And I would say, Henry, that when future generations hear this kind of thing, like I think back to the day, guys, when there was Crossfire on CNN. Remember, that was one of the first talk shows way back when Tucker was a little kid, and there were other people on the show that they would get on, and all they would do is scream at each other, right?
Right.
And then now you see this, you get on, and you go, well, I thought this was a talk show. It could just be called yelling your outrage over top of the other guest shows, right? They don't even call them talk shows. And I think all the time, why doesn't the host just have a little button that kills their mic, right? When they just go on, and their, outrage is the new black, and they're offended, and they're mortally wounded, and they're insulted, and all those things. It just gives humanity, Henry, it gives us a bad rap for people to think we're that thin-skinned.
It does. And I think, Matt, you've been in this business for quite a while now. And, how much of this do you really think is just simply the shock factor? The more that you can shock somebody or that you can make a shocking statement, the more publicity you get.
Well, yeah, I think a lot of that's the case. And but I don't get too critical about that aspect of it, only because I would feel a little bit, I don't want to be hypocritical. Like, for example, when I talk about, like Brian, when you called into my show that day and Hopwood went off and lost his mind and insinuated that I was racist and whatnot, like, I know that was compelling radio and it was entertaining. So
no charge.
I can't. What's that?
No charge. Yeah, just call me anytime.
Yeah.
You want me to send Hopwood off the deep end? Just call me. That's good.
Oh,
for
yeah.
you, anything, Matt, for you.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, no charge.
So and as someone who grew up listening to, some of the shock jocks like Howard Stern and Opie and Anthony and even Imus, although he's kind of a, more political, but, I do appreciate some of that stuff. So I don't criticize that so much. I mean, I do think in terms of political talk, I kind of enjoy both. I do enjoy some of, people yelling at each other and becoming animated. It can be very entertaining, but at the same time, I do also enjoy seeking out, usually on YouTube and in the podcast world, because you won't find much of this in cable news, but I do also enjoy seeking out truly intellectual conversations where people are disagreeing about issues, political or social issues or whatever it may be, but actually having a reasonable, not particularly emotional, but just a reasonable, logical discussion and an exchange of ideas. I love that stuff too. So I kind of appreciate both. I used to like watching Crossfire once in a while, but I also enjoy, like the Rubin Report, for example, where it's a couple of people just having an intellectual discussion. I enjoy that too. I like both.
Well, I think that's one of the things in terms of having my conversations with Henry, where we say Henry's a little more kumbaya. Heaven help me, Brian just tends to be a little more kick-ass, right? Because I really enjoy mixing it up with people, because where Henry's is a good bit smarter than I am, and he's more serene, and he's more tempered, and he's more thoughtful. I'm just like, let's just mix it up now. Well, we're both gunning, if you will. I probably can't use the word gunning anymore, right? I want to get in trouble. Right, I said gunning. We're both moving towards getting people to go, you know what? I'm really not that offendable. I'm not that enrageable. I'm not going to let someone play me like a sock puppet. And Henry's just smart enough to go in a very even keel kind of way. And I'm just willing to, bring a flamethrower to the marshmallow festival, right? So that's why I love the conversations with Henry, because it's just it's a combination of both for me, I guess I could say.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome, brother.
Yeah, no, I find it, it's really interesting. It seems like you can go through and have a real intelligent conversation or a real confrontational conversation, and so long as the ego is kind of kept at bay, it really can be very entertaining, and it can be very helpful, actually. I think it's okay for people to get upset at each other, but I think it really establishes a change, and I think we try to enrage somebody, or we try to get their goat, and really fire them up emotionally, and I think all it does is it just kind of messes up your own heart. It doesn't do really much except cause a little bit of strife. So yeah, maybe a little bit more kumbaya for me. I kind of like that. I find I can actually get a little further into a conversation and a lot deeper into a conversation before somebody gets pissed off at me. So that's okay. We can do that.
Right. I said, you're a lot smarter than I am, right? For me, I'm just like, look. Right, I made this. And John, let me thank John also and say hello to Jennifer. John, thank you. To give you an idea, and Henry and Matt will laugh at me, John just says, hey, you got an echo. And believe it or not, guys, I figured out why I had the echo, right? And I went over to the board and figured it out. So, John, tell me if the echo has cleared. It's like, there's times where sound guys would go, you just figured that out? Yes, I did. And I'm pretty proud of it. I might actually celebrate when we get off air tonight, but let me know, John, if that cured the echo. And as far as the conversation as I was having, Matt, earlier with Henry, is that I hope that people look at both approaches and go, there really is something to put my heart's highest priority top of the list and not worry about all my critics, right? Not worry about all the other alleged experts in life that are willing, like Venus flytraps, right? They're just waiting to close and trap you because misery loves company. So I'm hoping that we're kind of doing the same thing. We're just going about it in a different direction, which leads me in, guys, and both, if you would comment, it's really important to me as I get ready to do this, right? It's not like I go to the doctor and he goes, oh, you have a brain shunt. That'll extend your life by 20 years, right? My days are numbered. I'm headed to the grave. I've just decided to take the long way around. But in saying that, I'd like All Natural Being, both the radio and here on Facebook, I'd like it to be something where we're making that impact. So, Henry, if you could give me some ideas. Matt, what do you think about what's the greatest way in an era where some people like Kumbaya, some people like kick-ass? Maybe the best way is the yin-yang, if you will, of Henry and I on a podcast tag teaming and seeing, if we can communicate our message through both mediums in an attempt to really make an impact in people's lives. Henry, what do you think? Matt, what do you think?
I agree. I think it does take different sides of the coin in order to get it. Some people actually respect and want the directness and the right in your face, and some just don't want to be told directly that they're being idiots. They just want to be kind of coerced into it. And so I think it takes both sides, and I just think that that's the direction that really needs to be gone. Matt, again, you've been in this for a long time. Your opinion?
No, I agree with what you said. It almost sounds to me like a little bit of good cop, bad cop.
Oh, right.
Perfect.
If I may use that analogy.
Works for me. Well, I volunteer to be the bad cop. Right?
Yeah.
Right. I'll volunteer. Right, Henry, you go on being the good cop, and there's something about this sledgehammer, right? People go, do you really scratch your back with a sledgehammer? I had to give that up because I'm afraid of smacking myself in the back where the scars are, right? Where the titanium mesh that leaks like a sieve, by the way, where that titanium mesh is. But yeah, I'm all over that good cop, bad cop thing. And I think Henry is perfectly refreshed and still got an echo. All right, John. So, Henry, do you hear an echo, brother? Are you guys hear an echo?
No,
I don't hear it.
Oh, okay, great. Sorry about that, John. I'll keep working on it. So, Matt, what do you think? What would be a good way for us to look at doing a show where we really could make a positive impact in people's lives?
Yeah, so you mean in terms of the two of you together?
Well, two of us together. Any advice for Henry doing it individually? Any advice for me doing it individually? What do you think should be something good for both of us? I mean, we only get you on the air every so often. You know what I mean?
Sure. Well, and you and I have had this conversation or similar conversations before, Brian. My advice tends to be, and by the way, let me preface this by saying any instructor at any broadcast school would tell you that my way is wrong. But I'll tell you my way. I think that it's really good to approach it more on instinct than anything else. In other words, like my show, Matt Connerton Unleashed, believe it or not, I try to avoid thinking too much about, okay, I really want the show to be like this, or I really want to take the show in that direction or whatnot. I try to just do the show the way I feel like it should be, because I'm very much afraid of, obviously everybody's influenced by others. Like I mentioned a couple of, I'm influeed by the shock jocks like Stern, but I'm also influenced by people who've done political programming and so forth. But I try not to think, gee, if I do a show like this, I try to just kind of feel my way through it.
Okay.
Because I'm so afraid of inadvertently copying what somebody else is doing, because the moment I start to do that, then there's no point to what I'm doing. So I try not to overthink it. So that would be my advice to the both of you. Don't be afraid to try different things. Don't be afraid to experiment. The show can always change and evolve. My approach to things has certainly changed over the years. But I almost feel bad because it's like my advice really isn't advice at all, because I'm not really telling you anything. But I guess what I'm just saying is what works for me, and I think might work for the both of you, is just don't overthink it. Just do what feels right in terms of your show. You can always change it as you go.
Sure.
But only you know what's really going to work for you. And that's important, because if you do what works for you and you're not overthinking it, then your show is more likely to be unique. Because I got to tell you, there's a hell of a lot of competition out there. So you want to do something unique. Otherwise, you're just another voice in a sea of voices, in this media world that we live in now, where, anybody can go on the internet and start a podcast or whatever. So it's important to be unique, and I think the best way to be unique is to be yourself, which sounds cliche, but not overthink it. You just kind of do it. I hope that makes sense.
It does make sense.
I'm never sure if I'm
No, I think it makes tremendous sense.
I'm never sure if I'm articulating that well.
I think it makes tremendous sense, because then you're not overthinking it. And then, Henry, I noticed you just responded to Jennifer that your dad used to say the same thing. So let me say here, Jennifer, thank you so much. That's actually been very helpful and timed perfectly with what Matt was saying. And Jennifer says, many years ago, a favorite person said to me, if people are talking behind your back or stabbing you in the back, just think, hey, if they treat you like crap, at least they're leaving someone else alone. And I think it's probably, to be honest with you, Jennifer, it's probably the leftover cop in me, right? It's probably why I got, all those years ago I became a cop, was that I'm absolutely fired up about people taking a shot at me and leaving other people alone. When I talk about being your virtual hitchhiker, or I talking about being your bodyguard, Henry, what do you think? I love the idea of taking crap so that maybe they target me and leave everybody else alone.
Yeah, my dad used to tell me that all the time. I mean, I'd go home complaining that, somebody said this and somebody said that, and that's what he would always tell me. Hey, just think, if they're talking about you, they're leaving somebody else alone. So
that is so beautiful. They're leaving someone else alone. Yeah. And I know we've had this discussion before, and I've had the discussion on air. Candace, let me say hello to Candace. She said, I set myself free. I don't worry about all the other people's opinions. Worrying about not agreeing and being pressured was not healthy for me. Candace, I think Henry and Matt would both agree. It's not healthy for any of us. And it makes me think, I got into a debate not too long ago where someone was talking to me about, well, how is it that you define compassion? And I said, Matt, well, compassion is compassion only when from time to time it shows its teeth. And they were like, well, what do you what do you mean? And I said, well, imagine you have the ability. One time I was off duty and I was involved in breaking up a robbery. And people said, well, why did you do that? Why not just let it go? Well, my sense is, in kind of like piling up on what Jennifer had to say, my sense is if you have the ability to interrupt a robbery and you don't, and then the bad guy down the road decides to rob somebody else, that's on your karma. You had the ability in the beginning to teach him the lesson. You said, oh, I don't want to be involved. I'll be compassionate. I'll just turn the other cheek. I'll say a prayer for him and this and that. No, I clocked him right in the head. Right? And people say, well, how compassionate was that? And I said, well, I didn't want him to feel that he could go ahead and victimize someone else, and there wasn't ever going to be a repercussion. So, Jennifer, I cannot thank you enough for that quote. It's always been in me. Henry, what do you think?
Absolutely right. The first thing we always do when somebody's suffering, let's use that term, is we have sympathy and we have empathy. Well, those both actually support the suffering. Compassion gives the people a way out from the suffering. And that's the way I look at it.
That's an interesting take. I never thought of it that way. I'm sorry, Matt, go ahead.
I just want to say, too, I like the way she said that when she said she set herself free. I like that.
Isn't that something, Candace? Yeah, Candace has got some great, from time to time when she comments, it's always really profound stuff. So, Candace, thank you for that. She set herself free, which technically is her all-natural being, right? I hate to turn it into a plug for the show, but she set herself free from all the things that are inauthentic. Think about it. When she goes down the line, she says, I don't worry anymore about other people's opinions, whether they agree or disagree. Don't worry about their pressure. Right? So she just basically decided to jettison everything that was inauthentic in her life. And what was left behind? Her health and her all-natural being. So I'm with you, Matt. I think it was a brilliant way to look at it.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, I mean, when you're not concerned with what others think, I mean, that's a huge weight off of you. And I also, too, I have an axiom. You may have heard me say this before, Brian, but I have an axiom that I apply to my show, for example, because I'm sure there's people who listen to my show who don't like me, but they listen anyway because it's that sort of hate listening that people do,
sure.
Like people used to do to Howard Stern when he was coming up. But my axiom is, I'd rather be I'm sorry, I almost said it wrong. I'd rather be loved than hated, but I'd rather be hated than ignored.
Sure.
So I'd rather people listen and hate me and hate what I say on my show than not listen at all, Well,
I heard one time, Matt, that Howard Stern, I don't want to say a sizable portion, but some chunk of his revenue was based on people that bought memberships to his show because they hated him. And they wanted to be in a position to critique him negatively. He's like, I laugh all the way to the bank.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Candace says, guys, I just told my mother, when someone does something bad to me, I look at it like they know what they did. I don't want to have to live with it. They do. Absolutely. It's very Buddhist of you, actually, Candace, when, the Buddha said one time, hey, if someone comes and knocks on your door and he's got all types of vitriol and all kinds of bad things to say about you, if you don't answer the door, right, what can Brown do for you? If the package delivery guy shows up at the door and you don't answer it, he or she's got to put the package back on the truck. So you don't have to take all their venom. You don't have to take all their outrage, all their anger. You just don't answer the door. I think that's what Candace is saying, Henry.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely she is. And that's really the thing. If you can take the criticism, just think about where it came from. The objective, the only way you can have the conflict is you have to react. And so when someone acts, if you don't react, it fizzles right there. It stops. The argument is ended. So why do we put ourselves through this? I'm right. You're wrong. I'm right. And back and forth. It's almost ludicrous that we do that. I just simply take it from where it came, and move on. It's not that important to try to prove my point.
They say all the time. What is that? Or the old saying, I should say, it takes two to tango.
Yep.
Well, it takes
Exactly.
two to be outraged. It takes two to be offended. It takes two to be. This one. Oh, I'm mortally wounded by their words. I don't know a person on the face of this earth whose words could mortally wound me. I mean, I'm willing to try. If you've got anything crappy you want to say, please do right here in the thread, and I'm pretty sure I'm not going to bleed out, right? So we get to the point where we go, hey, no, a healthy sense of self is knowing, like Candace said, it's knowing what to surrender. It's knowing what to jettison. It's knowing what baggage not to pick up. You're not someone else's psychological Sherpa, and you have to carry all of their junk, right? All of their binge thinking. It's none of your business what they think of you, I would suggest.
Exactly. No, you're right. We don't. We have gotten, like I said, I think one of the segments we had talked about creating was political correctness corrected.
Right.
We have gone way too far on the other side with this political correctness and with this thin skin thing. You know, I don't know. It's not like we used to be turtles with really hard shells. It's just somehow it's been accepted now to have our feelings hurt. I have yet to wrap my head around all that. I think
maybe, Henry, it was what Matt was saying earlier, that if you're out there and you're public about having your feelings hurt, you're getting attention. Maybe that's it. Maybe Robert De Niro, I don't know how long it's been since he's done a movie that anyone went to see, but maybe he's not getting enough attention. So he has to stand up at the Tonys and scream about President Trump, or maybe Kathy isn't getting enough attention. I mean, she was hosting New Year's Eve with Anderson Cooper, so she must have been getting some attention. But you think that when you feign this outrage, when you say I'm mortally wounded, I'm just, my destiny is derailed by the simple fact of your belief. Maybe they're thinking it's a way to get attention. Maybe they need a big hug, right? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's not about, maybe that's it. Maybe it's not about sledgehammers. Maybe we should just have T-shirts made where we run around saying, oh, I'll give you a big hug, right? We should have safety zones? Is that what it is now on Poison Ivy League campuses?
Safe spaces.
Safe spaces, right? But here's the thing. We're encouraging future generations to believe they need a safe space. And I think about Shackleton. I think about Lewis and Clark. I think about any of the great explorers throughout the history. I think about whether you were evicted from the Garden of Eden or you walked off the savannas of Africa. You didn't do it with thin skin. I mean, there's nothing in the human genome that says, right after we were tossed from the garden, we were offended. Right after we left the savannas of Africa, we were a mess. We were beside ourselves. It's not in the historical record. So what happened to human beings being able to pull off just about anything? And that's when we talk all the time about going back to your all-natural being, back to the time where you were a badass, which you still are. And as Candace said, you jettison all these other things. You get rid of all these things because it isn't healthy. Yeah, because you're not being you. Matt, what do you think?
That's exactly right.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And, as far as the thing I tell people, too, is because it's very difficult to offend me, in terms of, for example, humor. And that's one of the things that drives me nuts about political correctness, too, is according to political correctness, context and intent don't matter. And I say they do.
Right.
So, if someone makes an off-color joke or something, it's like, and I don't get offended easily. And we kind of push the envelope on my show sometimes, too. But I always tell people, I do get offended by things, but I save my being offended for things that I think are worth being offended by. I'm offended by war.
Right.
I'm offended by poverty.
Right.
I'm offended by the fact that the phrase homeless veteran even has to exist in the American vernacular. These are things that are offensive to me. I'm not offended by somebody's off-color joke or if somebody says something to me that's hurt my feelings. I mean, it's pretty hard to do. things just kind of roll off of me. So, I think there are things worth being offended by. I just think people should be a little more selective about what they find offensive.
I couldn't agree with you more, Matt, and it's almost as if you can be offended by the actions of people, but the acronyms they use or the attitudes that they have towards you, I never let that derail me. But you're absolutely right, and you put it very eloquently. Some of the things that we really could be outraged by, hunger, right? Some of the things we really could be outraged by, but all of our energy is dividing the camp and going, I believe the earth is round. I believe the earth is flat. Oh, I believe in global warming. Well, I don't believe in global warming. Or I believe it's human caused. I believe it isn't human caused. All this energy, all this vitriol goes to arguing over things, and there's kids that starve to death. Right? All kinds of things, as you say, Matt, that we could be offended by, and I think we never get to really stand up to that kind of evil. We're just busy picking off the little things because it makes us look tough, but we're really not. Why waste the energy arguing whether the earth is flat or round? I just don't get it. Well, because we can't have these people thinking it's flat. Why? Did someone try to push you off the edge of it? Well, no. Well, then what do you care if he thinks the earth is flat? Well, because it's round.
Right.
Okay, great. What does that mean to you? So maybe we could all start to use that energy to put our heart's highest priority top of the list and be a little more compassionate to other people. Henry, what do you think?
Yes, absolutely right. There's one race on this planet. It's the human race. And all of these subdivisions that keep going through, I mean, everything. We are being separated in every possible topic, every possible definition, every possible dimension. We are being separated and separated and separated, and we fall for this. We actually buy into all of this. If we could just simply go back, turn back the clock, one race, human.
Right.
It don't matter color. It don't matter borders, all of the countries, all these borders are just so fictitious. We belong to this planet Earth, and there are no borders, no nationalities, and this national pride thing drives me up a wall. It's another way to simply separate us. I yet to figure this out. We're working on it. We're trying to figure it out, but I'm trying to get everybody to turn back. We are one race, and that's really all that there is here. And we simply just really should put our minds together rather than finding ways that we can't even talk to each other.
Matt, what are you thinking?
Well, actually, the Henry, your comment about borders really kind of stood out to me because I heard. I wish I could remember who said this because I thought it was so great. It was somebody who's big in the libertarian movement made a comment that all borders really are where two opposing armies decided to finally stop fighting each other. That's how you get borders. That's all they are.
Well, you think about that, Matt. What's the one place out in the West, the Four Corners, where you literally can stand in 4 different states?
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
I guess maybe you need like a size 11 shoe, right? I mean,
right.
Or maybe if you have baby feet, you're only like in 2, maybe 3 of them, maybe, I don't know how that works, but where you can stand in all 4 corners, and then you realize the insanity of it. 4 different state governments decided that where you're standing on this piece of the Earth's crust represents the junction of 4 different states, and you just go, wait a minute, so we're going to go to war over a few gallons of salt water separating us? Whether it's across the pond or the Pacific or the this or that. And then you look. But in this day and age, what's tough, Zoe, nice to see you. Thank you for joining us on All Natural Being. In this day and age, what's tough, all these EGO-istas, as I call them, they got nuclear weapons. They got standing armies. They got the ability to reach out and go, I'll let you know whether the earth is flat or not, right? So we're coming up on a time where it could be, he said some very nasty things. Well, now they're backing them up with nuclear-tipped warheads. So someone has to stand up for, as Henry says, regular humanity. Somebody has to stand up, Matt, as you said, and you want to be outraged. Be outraged by the way we treat each other in substantive ways. not the words that we use, not the jokes that we tell, not the good. And we can't get into it now because I promised you guys we'd only stay about 45 minutes. But you just go sometime and watch all the people outraged if a mom tries to breastfeed in public. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Like everyone goes, well, that's just from she's a Martian. She's from another planet. There's your alien. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, for all the people that didn't need nourishment when you were an infant, please raise your hand. Oh, I'm sorry. You can't because you're dead? But right, think of it. Something that natural.
Yeah.
And people are offended by. I don't get it.
Think about you drink human milk, but no, we have to cross species into a cow or to goats in order to drink milk. It makes no sense to me.
Well, that sounds like a whole different topic. And like I said, I promised I would only hold you guys for 45 minutes or thereabouts. So, Henry, thank you so very much for all that you've done and for hanging out with us this evening. I appreciate it. And Matt, thank you so very much. Let me see. Candace says, Henry, took me a long time to figure out what life is really about. I would offer, Candace, you probably knew what life was really about a long time ago. And what it took you a long time to figure out is how to get rid of all the things that blocked you of that knowledge, right? To go all Yoda again in Star Wars, you must unlearn that which you have learned. But thank you, Candace, very much. I appreciate it. And Matt, thank you for everything. Thank you for all the work you've done to get Henry up and running. Henry, why don't you go ahead and tell us again, Transformation Radio, and it's going to be IPMNation.com/live4. Is that it?
That's it, exactly. Yeah, right now it's just some pre-programmed podcast and some music that's going at this moment, but I want to be able to spend some time with Matt and really figure out the best way to start developing this up and get it going. There's just so much information that has to get out there, and I need some help trying getting it out there. So I will be counting on you, Matt.
Yeah, absolutely. Glad to do it.
And Matt, thank you again for everything. 261 episodes. You know, when I first met Matt, Jenny introduced us. When I first met Matt, I can only imagine, because I said to Matt, I want the toughest time slot on your calendar. Yeah. I want the toughest time slot there is. And he's like, you want the toughest time slot? I go, yeah, well, I want the toughest time slot. And he goes, great. Then it's, what was it, 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. in the morning, Matt? So to think all the way back, 261 episodes, 3 brain surgeries, wow. 1 tumor, everything that we've gone through. I really, truly appreciate all the times. I really appreciate all the times. And I'll leave you with this thought, Henry and Matt. There are times where I'll call Matt, and I just know, Sue, my good friend Sue, who you guys see here in the thread from time to time, she calls it the side eye, right? Where she goes, she gives me the side eye whenever I say something that she thinks is out of bounds. And I can only imagine some of the things that I've called you with and go, okay, Matt, let's do this. And you just go, yeah, we're not doing that. But you've always been very gracious. You've always been very helpful. You've always just given me enough time to come to see it your way. So I super appreciate that. Guys, thank you so very much. Henry, your new website, please. Can you share it with everyone? And then, Matt, I want you to give your website as well, please.
Yeah,
okay.
absolutely.
Yeah, mine is simply www.henrygnoel.com.
henrygnoel.com. And then, Matt, how about you?
IPMNation.com.
Absolute. And then, Matt, can you say now, like when you're on at the other station, do you do promos for that, or how does that work? If other people would like to come in, because I know you're live over on Facebook here as well when you do your daily show. Can you Can you let us know how to see that as well?
Oh yeah, of course. Well, yeah. So you can get my show live on weekdays 4 to 6 Eastern. You can stream it actually at IPMNation.com/live1. You can also, if you go to the Matt Connerton Unleashed Facebook page, you can stream it right there on Facebook Live.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, we'll look to do that. And Matt, I thank you so much again for being on. And to be honest, Henry, I think this is the first time where I've been able to test 2 callers coming in at the same time. So I can't. I think of 2 other people to have tested this with. So thank you all so very much for giving up your evening and being a part of All Natural Being.
Thank you, Brian, and thank you,
got
man.
it.
All right, we'll talk to you soon. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.
All right, here's what we're going to do. I promised the prayer bowl's going to go out, so I got 1, 2, 3. Well, let's do a small one. 4, 5, 6, at least for the shares. Thank you so very much. And as I said before, we're doing everything we can to spread the message of all natural beings. So thank you to everyone that's been here. Candace, it's nice to meet you and to see you again. And I'm glad you had a chance to meet everyone. Thank you so very much for joining us here at All Natural Being. We'll be back. We're going to do a show. I think we'll do a show tomorrow night one more time, and then we'll take a weekend break, and we'll be back next Monday for sure. But thank you all so very, very much for joining us here at All Natural Being. We'll see you soon.
IPMNation.com.